Hi, this is Dizzy, and I'm going to make a quick video about Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm talking quiet because my kid just finally went down for a nap, and I'm fresh out of the bath, no makeup, screw it. Dahmer is one of the better known serial killers and one of my favorites to study, next to Ted Bundy. But many people don't understand Dahmer. Talking about Jeffrey Dahmer without some beer would be a sin. Plus, I'm going to write after this video, and I like some beer when I write. Anyhow, since there is a movie coming out about Dahmer in the fall, based on this graphic novel, My Friend Dahmer, which is also the title of the movie, which I highly recommend this book. It's a graphic novel. Um, and I'm very excited, in case you can't tell. I'm going to clarify some things about Dahmer. Dahmer was gay. He was a gay man. Being gay in the 70s and 80s wasn't quite as casual as it is now. I mean, not that it's any piece of cake now. Some people speculated that Dahmer's crimes, because most of his 17 victims were black and all of them were male, that there was a homophobic or racist edge to his crimes. And this could not be further from the truth. Jeffrey Dahmer suffered a lot with his thoughts about men and about wanting them men he was with to be entirely submissive. He wanted full possession of his victims, which is the only thing he had in common with Ted Bundy other than substance abuse and the fact that they are well-known serial killers and necrophiles, you know, which is common with serial killers. Uh, in a very twisted way, and forgive my sick phrasing here, he had a form of love for the men he killed. Um, His crimes generally involved an attempt to drill into the skulls and pour acid into the men he picked up in an effort to create, for lack of better words, sex zombies. This did not work, obviously. So initially, death was more of a side effect of what Dahmer wanted to do to the men. Um, Dahmer was not a popular guy in school. He wasn't particularly charming. He was awkward. He walked awkwardly, spoke in a monotone. Both his father speaks about this in this book, which I also recommend, um, called A Father's Story by Lionel Dahmer. Um, my cat's distracting me. Damn it. Um, so his father spoke about the monotone, the awkward gait, and all that, as well as the author of My Friend Dahmer. And Dahmer's claim to fame in high school was that he acted out oddly in an almost Tourette's-like manner. And it wasn't Tourette's, he didn't have Tourette's. And acting out like that is not really that odd for teenagers to do. I know I had friends in high school who definitely would kind of mimic a Tourette's-like behavior. I may or may not have been one of them. And it was intentional, and that's not so odd for teenagers to be jerks. But it turns out, to the horror of the author of My Friend Dahmer, that Jeffrey's little stint was actually a mockery of his mother's very real disorder. And he found that out upon going to his house. So, anyway, Dahmer didn't have an abusive childhood. He may have been somewhat emotionally neglected, and I mean, who isn't? His mother was sick. His dad was an extremely busy chemist, extremely smart man. Uh, that book is really good by his dad. And he had a little brother. His father expresses remorse in his book about not paying enough attention and not adding up some of the clues all together to say, hey, there's something really wrong with my kid. And in My Friend Dahmer, the author poses a really good question of where were the adults? Jeffrey had red flags all over the place, way worse than Bundy and a lot of the other serial killers that I've studied. High school alcoholism. He couldn't stay in the military because of his behavior as alcoholism. He would show up to class intoxicated. He had no real friends at all. He cut up a fish to see what would happen and debated with himself on murdering a dog, and eventually a dog skull was found mounted in the woods on a stick. Which, if you find one and you do it, it's a little different, but did he kill the dog? It's not uncommon for serial killers to experiment with other animals. I mean, people are animals, but that's a discussion for another time. Jeffrey was obsessed with roadkill, and that on its own may sound creepy, especially to people who weren't raised like in the boondocks, kind of like I was. But in reality, that's how a lot of taxidermy happens. If Jeffrey had that obsession without the necrophiliac desires and all that, maybe he would have been a taxidermist instead of, working in the chocolate factory and then hunting the gay bars for prey on the weekends. That brings me back around to the necrophilia. Necrophilia doesn't always involve murder, but it does generally involve a huge fear of real intimacy. It's possession, it's the inability to handle rejection. Um, have you ever seen somebody who was rejected and then they got real hostile? Like, you ever had I don't know how many of my viewers are females. If you've ever had a guy be like, hey baby, blah blah blah, try to get you to sleep with him or date him or what have you, and then you say no, and suddenly you're an ugly fat bitch. It's like, well, I was an ugly fat bitch 10 minutes ago. But some of them get real hostile, and this is that to a new level, is what necrophilia is. Like to a whole new level. uh, it's possession, and then there's the cannibalism. That's also possession and dominance. Dahmer stated that he wanted to keep his victims with him forever, and through several acts of dominance ranging from drugging them and raping them to drilling to keeping the bodies for necrophiliac activities to keeping the skulls, and finally down to cannibalism, Jeffrey was all about getting control. He was all about dominance, where he likely felt he had no control or dominance in any other area of his life. I think he could have gone a different direction with some help, and I think because of that, I find Dahmer very interesting and there's no excuse for anything he did. Don't get me wrong, but I do think he's one of the ones that could have been helped. I don't think Bundy could have been helped. I don't think Gang could have been helped. I don't think Night Stalker could have been helped. They were like bred, born, made to be serial killers. Dahmer's a little different. And, sometimes all those red flags don't really look like red flags until it's too late. And I think that's what happened with Dahmer, and that's why his dad felt so bad about what happened, and because he was like, wow, well, I guess I did see some red flags. There has been some talk of whether or not Dahmer was on the autistic spectrum, and as someone who's on the autistic spectrum, I do not really like broaching that subject too much because we get enough bad attention. But it is entirely possible to be both autistic and a sociopath. It's just rare. You can be autistic and anything else. So, I don't know about that. He was awkward, but the primary issue here is, he didn't get the help he needed, and what help is there available for people who have really bad, dark fantasies like that? There's really not any help. You know, if today you felt like you wanted to rape, murder, cannibalize, or sleep with a dead body because you felt like you had no control over your life, what help is there that's available? That's something that, Dahmer was killed in the 90s in prison, and we still don't have answers for these questions on how to help certain types of people. Anyway, I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent. I recommend these books. My Friend Dahmer, before it comes out in theaters, we're getting 2 new serial killer movies, Dahmer and Bundy, and I am excited. And of course, this book is so dirty. Its cover fell off by Jeffrey's dad. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble for like 11 minutes going on 12. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you've read the book, tell me what you think. Bye.